I accept that when there are storms, the damnedest of excluded, excommunicated things, things that are so leprous to the faithful, are brought down from the Super Sargasso Sea, or from what for convenience we call the Super Sargasso Sea, which by no means has been taken into full acceptance yet. That things are brought down by storms, just as, from the depths of the sea, things are brought up by storms. To be sure, it is orthodoxy that storms have little if any effect below the waves of the ocean, but, of course, only to have an opinion is to be ignorant of, or to disregard a contradiction, or something else that modifies an opinion out of distinguishability. Simon's Meteorological Magazine, 47-180, that along the coast of New Zealand, in regions not subject to submarine volcanic action, deep-sea fishes are often brought up by storms. Iron and stones that fall from the sky, and atmospheric disturbances. There is absolutely no connection between the two phenomena. The orthodox belief is that objects moving at planetary velocity would, upon entering this Earth's atmosphere, be virtually unaffected by hurricanes. Might as well think of a bullet swerved by someone fanning himself. The only trouble with the orthodox reasoning is the usual trouble. It's phantom dominant. It's basing upon a myth. Data we've had, and more we'll have, of things in the sky having no independent velocity. There are so many storms and so many meteors and meteorites that it would be extraordinary if there were no concurrences. Nevertheless, so many of these concurrences are listed by Professor Baden-Powell that one notices. See Report of the British Association of the Advancement of Science, 1860, for other instances. The famous fall of stones at Siena, Italy, 1794, in a violent storm. See Gregg's catalogues, many instances. One that stands out is Bright Ball of Fire and Light in a Hurricane in England, September 2nd, 1786. The remarkable datum here is that this phenomenon was visible 40 minutes. That's about 800 times the duration that the Orthodox give to meteors and meteorites. See the Annual Register, many instances. In Nature, October 25th, 1877, and the London Times, October 15th, 1877. Something that fell in a gale of October 14th, 1877, is described as a huge ball of green fire. This phenomenon is described by another correspondent in Nature 17-10, and an account of it by another correspondent was forwarded to Nature by W.F. Denning. There are so many instances that some of us will revolt against the insistence of the faithful that it is only coincidence, and accept that there is connection of the kind called causal. If it is too difficult to think of stones and metallic masses swerved from their courses by storms, if they move at high velocity, we think of low velocity, or of things having no velocity at all, hovering a few miles above this earth, dislodged by storms and falling luminously. But the resistance is so great here, and coincidence so insisted upon, that we'd better have some more instances. Aerolite in a storm at St. Leonards-on-Sea, England, September 17th, 1885. No trace of it found. Annual Register, 1885. Meteorite in a gale, March 1st, 1886. Described in the Monthly Weather Review, March 1886. Meteorite in a thunderstorm, off coast of Greece. November 19th, 1899. Nature, 61-111. Fall of a meteorite in a storm, July 7th, 1883, near Lachine, Quebec. Monthly Weather Review, July 1883. Same phenomenon noted in Nature, 28-319. Meteorite in a whirlwind, Sweden, September 24th, 1883. Nature, 29-15. London, Royal Society Proceedings, 6-276. A triangular cloud that appeared in a storm, December 17th, 1852. A red nucleus, about half the apparent diameter of the moon, and a long tail. Visible 13 minutes. Explosion of the nucleus. Nevertheless, in Science Gossip 6-65, it is said that, though meteorites have fallen in storms, no connection is supposed to exist between the two phenomena, except by the ignorant peasantry. But some of us peasants have gone through the report of the British Association 1852. Upon page 239, Dr. Buist, who had never heard of the Super Sargasso Sea, says that, though it was difficult to trace connection between the phenomena, 3 aerolites had fallen in 5 months in India during thunderstorms. In 1851, may have been 1852, for accounts by witnesses, see page 229 of the report. Or, we are on our way to account for thunderstones. It seems to me that very strikingly here is borne out the general acceptance that ours is only an intermediate existence, in which there is nothing fundamental, or nothing final, to take as a positive standard to judge by. Peasants believed in meteorites, scientists excluded meteorites. Peasants believe in thunderstones, scientists exclude thunderstones. It is useless to argue that peasants are out in the fields, and that scientists are shut up in laboratories and lecture rooms. We cannot take for a real base that, as to phenomena with which they are more familiar, peasants are more likely to be right than our scientists. A host of biologic and meteorologic fallacies of peasants rises against us. I should say that our existence is like a bridge, except that that comparison is in static terms. But, like the Brooklyn Bridge, upon which multitudes of bugs are seeking a fundamental, coming to a girder that seems firm and final, but the girder is built upon supports. A support then seems final, but it is built upon underlying structures. Nothing final can be found in all the bridge, because the bridge itself is not a final thing in itself, but is a relationship between Manhattan and Brooklyn. If our existence is a relationship between the positive absolute and the negative absolute, the quest for finality in it is hopeless. Everything in it must be relative, if the whole is not a whole, but is itself a relation. In the attitude of acceptance, our pseudo-base is: cells of an embryo are in the reptilian era of the embryo. Some cells feel stimuli to take on new appearances. If it be of the design of the whole that the next era be mammalian, those cells that turn mammalian will be sustained against resistance by inertia of all the rest, and will be relatively right, though not finally right, because they too in time will have to give way to characters of other eras of higher development. If we are upon the verge of a new era in which exclusionism must be overthrown, it will avail thee not to call us base-born and frowsy peasants. In our crude bucolic way, we now offer an outrage upon common sense that we think will someday be an unquestioned commonplace. That manufactured objects of stone and iron have fallen from the sky. That they have been brought down from a state of suspension in a region of inertness to this Earth's attraction by atmospheric disturbances. The thunderstone is usually a beautifully polished, wedge-shaped piece of green stone, says a writer in the Cornhill magazine. 50-517. It isn't. It's likely to be of almost any kind of stone, but we call attention to the skill with which some of them have been made. Of course, this writer says it's all superstition, otherwise he'd be one of us crude and simple sons of the soil. Conventional damnation is that stone implements, already on the ground in the first place, are found near where lightning was seen to strike, that are supposed by astonished rustics or by intelligence of a low order to have fallen in or with lightning,